Hello! Wie geht's? My name is Third and I'm getting cancelled for the 1000th time for being too iconic.
Bruh.
And for agreeing with someone that's also too iconic. And also, I said a slur, but that is so not a problem. That is such a non-issue. I think you're fat, and I think you're ugly, and I have no other insults that I ever used against anyone because I'm not creative enough to come up with other insults. And yeah. Also, I don't think that James Charles or Jeffree Star were in the wrong for any of either of the controversies. Okay? I just don't. I think they're always right. In the 2000s, there was a concerning rise in girl-on-girl bullying in the middle schools and in the high schools of America. Most of the bullying came from the super skinny supermodel era, which ended up pushing high beauty standards onto girls at a very young age, which was then internalized and used as, fuel for the bullying fire. Because of this massive increase in bullying, books and articles and the like were written as a hope to let the parents know of what was going on when the girls likely didn't have the guts to tell them. Of those books, there was Queen Bees and Wannabes by Rosalind Wiseman, a book written and released in 2002 for parents of teenage girls. The book focuses on the ways in which girls in high schools form cliques and on handling those, patterns of aggressive behavior, according to Wikipedia. I have not read the book, for such a task be most laborious. However, people that did read the book, I assume, were director Mark Waters as well as writer at the time Tina Fey, because in 2004 they released the well-known movie Mean Girls, which was inspired by Wiseman's Queen Bees and Wannabes. Wiseman also ended up having a part in the writing of the highly acclaimed movie. If you haven't seen Mean Girls 2004, Mean Girls the Musical, Mean Girls 2024, or any version of Mean Girls that's chopped into a million pieces and then put over slime on TikTok, then basically, Mean Girls is about... And you're never gonna guess this. Mean Girl. It sort of follows a group of 3 girls that are relatively nice to everyone's faces, but then talk shit about them and each other behind their backs. Regina George, the leader of the group, is very clever and smart with what she does when it comes to being a hater, and that's the main reason she's so popular within watchers of the film. She's a strong female lead, which people typically really like to see. There's actually a scene in the movie where a guy is a creep to the main character who is new to the school that Regina and the others go to, and she very publicly embarrasses him. She tells him to shave his back hair. Crazy. She's an icon, she's good at making up insults, she's a good speaker, she's mean, of course she's a bitch, but she's good at it, it's a talent, I think. In 2004, we had Regina from Mean Girls. In 2018, we had Regina from Mean Girls the Musical. In 2024, we had Regina from Mean Girls in the remake of Mean Girls, played by the amazing Renee Rapp. And in 2025, we have... men. Ew! That self-identify themselves as Regina George gays, meaning usually that they are gay, right, and are a bit mean online, and assume themselves iconic. There is a abundance of gay men online that act the way described, and I'm not really going to be talking about that part super in depth. If you want to see a video that does, then I recommend going to Cuomo Markham's video, You Are Not Regina George, Just George, because that one does, a very good deep dive of the mean gay complex. This video is actually just about 2 creators in particular that fall under the mean gay complex that have gotten under some fire recently for the thing that they've been saying about a certain transgender creator on TikTok. That certain transgender creator is known as Lily Tino, who's gotten into a lot of controversies. I personally don't like Lily Tino at all. I don't want anyone to watch this video and say that I'm defending her, because I'm not. She was involved with minors before she transitioned, and talked about dick and balls at a Disney park, so I don't like her. Lily Tino has been posting on TikTok since November 15th of 2022, her first post being about her transition. Pretty much all of the posts on her account have something to do with her being trans, whether that be correcting a server on pronouns or talking about dick and balls at a Disney park, for example. She's gotten a lot of hate in her comments and a lot of hateful videos online because no shit, but there was one specific video that started a really big debate about her and how we treat other trans people online. The video was by a creator known as Payton Piper, who definitely does fall into the mean gay stereotype. He posted a video about how he wished he could meet Lily Tino in real life so he could misgender her.
I wish I met Lily Tino in person so I could misgender him.
And then followed it up with a video saying that DID isn't a real thing.
And I'm not talking about the regular run-of-the-mill special people. No, I'm talking about the people who literally think that they have multiple people inside their head. They identify as multiple people. The DID system thinks
that we should bring back institutionalizing people.
Bring back institutionalizing people.
That there are only 2 genders.
You don't even know what you are. I'm like, you're not a boy or a girl. You're a lunatic.
That we should bring back bullying.
Bring back bullying.
And then, digging a deeper hole, right? He followed that up with a video saying that trans women do not belong in women's spaces at all because they are biologically men.
Or canceling me because I said Lily Tino is a man. Go look her up on Twitter and tell me that's not a man. Men do not belong in female spaces no matter what they identify as, and I'm getting called misogynistic for that? No. There is gender-neutral bathrooms at Disney. Lily Tino 100% is imposing their way of living on other people to make them uncomfortable, and that is weird, and that deserves to be called out. That is not basic human decency. Lily Tino is a biological male.
We have lost the plot. Number 1, DID is a real thing. A lot of people faked it back in the day, 2020, but it's a real thing. Number 2, we should not be institutionalizing people, I think. It's kind of a weird thing to say about anyone. Number 3, gender is a wide spectrum that is not binary at all, and it's crazy to have a feminine man, maybe not a femboy, but a feminine man say that. You know what I mean? We had a month-long conversation about gender being a spectrum in June about lesboys. Number 4, bring back bullying. Peyton, you have glasses, you have braces, and you talk fast enough to make yourself stutter. I just... bring back deforestation! What? Some of these shrubs are so odd. We need to bring back deforestation, honestly. But I think that we should bring back not protecting wildlife. You know, these humans are so ripe for killing some of these animals. They're so weird. Holy shit. Is that a nut? Whoa, wait, no. The idea that trans women don't belong in women's spaces because they are biologically men is an inherently conservative idea because it infers that they are not real women. It infers that anybody who is transgender and is not what they identify as is, not a real whatever they identify as, and that they will always be whatever they were born as. A small part of this argument did stem from the conspiracy theory that Lily Tino is not truly trans. However, that argument doesn't have much to back it up. Obviously, if Lily Tino was cosplaying as a trans woman for views or to make trans people look bad, she wouldn't, come out and say it straight up, but that doesn't change the fact that there truly isn't any evidence, at all. The things that I see the most when discussing Lily's identity are A, that she doesn't pass well, B, that her actions as a whole, being mean to servers, that, use the wrong pronouns, having a past that is involved with minors, and talking about dick and balls at a Disney park harm the trans community, and therefore she must be lying, or C, that the way she acts online makes one think that she is rage bait. The problem with argument A is that obviously not passing well isn't an excuse to claim someone is not trans. That is a trans medicalist idea. A trans medicalist being someone that thinks that, someone cannot be trans unless they feel extreme gender dysphoria about anything relating to their assigned gender at birth. Someone that believes gender dysphoria and a certain amount of suffering is a must for someone that to be, allowed to identify as transgender. Trans medical ideals are rooted in misogyny. Yes, the same kind that says that men cannot wear dresses. Yes, the same kind that applies gender to things or to items that do not have a gender, like color. Trans medicalists also typically believe that non-binary people aren't real. So... the problem with argument B is that it basically says that trans people cannot be bad people, which is weird, guys. Hey, guys, hey, guys. Trans people can be bad people. If you go into a court of law after murdering somebody and say, I'm trans, they're not gonna dismiss you of all charges. Okay, trans people can murder people, believe it or not. Lily Tino can be trans and also be a pedophile. Those aren't mutually exclusive things. Speaking of mutually exclusive, I do think that Lily Tino is rage baiting, but I also think she's trans. That they can happen at the same time. I think some of the things she says or do are exaggerated or straight up rage bait, but I don't think she's trans only for the sake of being rage bait. The rage bait is obviously working though. If you don't want her to rage bait, then stop giving her attention. That is literally the only way to stop somebody from rage baiting. It pisses me off so much anytime people talk about Lily Tino because they always talk about the wrong things. I don't care that Lily Tino might be faking being trans. She is a pedophile. I don't talk about that instead. Talk about that instead. I don't give a shit about what she does with her gender identity. I give a shit about what she does with kids. Talk about that instead. Please. There's also this argument that makes sense at first that she's a pedophile, so we shouldn't respect her pronouns or her identity or whatever. I wasn't sure how to explain my frustration with this argument, so I'm gonna read a quote from a funky frog bait video. What you're implying by this is that a person's gender identity is a conditional privilege, and it can be stripped from them as a form of punishment. This is obviously a super slippery slope, because then the question becomes very subjective as to how bad a trans person has to be before you get the free pass to misgender them. Thank you, funky frog bait. You truly are funky frog bait. That doesn't make sense. Misgendering a trans person because they're a bad person is also just super misogynistic, because when you think about, like, any time a woman has been a bad person or convicted of a crime, or a man has been, like, a pussy, women get called men, and men get called women. Kind of, sort of. It feels really bad because of that history, you know what I mean? And then the people got a little bit too comfortable, and by the people, I mean one person. At the start of this video, I mentioned that I'd be talking about 2 specific mean gays. This is the second. Gus Weathers is a TikToker that's been posting since February 8th of 2021. Most of his more recent TikToks have been him posting to or lip-syncing to, like, in audio with text on top of it that's relatable in some way, but then randomly a few days ago, it was so recent that TikTok doesn't even display the actual date of when the video was posted, he posted this video.
Peyton's real as fuck, cause nobody's fucking with Lily. He's better than me, cause I would've got on here and called her a tranny. Oh, who said that? Gus did!
Oh! We're saying slurs now? That's so cool and so awesome. Am I too woke? Is not wanting to say slurs too woke? Is that a woke idea? Anyway, a day after that, he posted this video.
I've been canceled on the internet multiple fucking times, and of course they're trying to cancel me again because I agreed with Payton's statement, and instead of backing down and everything like that, I just stood up and said I would literally call her a tranny. I don't understand how saying that word can be considered transphobic when I'm not transphobic or nor homophobic. If you are a gay person, then you know that you literally have been friends with everyone, and every single person likes to slip out a certain word around you. Do I think that it's homophobic? No. Do I think that some people can just say a word and be joking about it? Yeah. Do I feel that way about the trans community? Yeah, because sometimes there is trans women that are beautiful, amazing. I'm not the one that can get on here and, like, justify who's a woman and not. But then you have Lily. That's a tranny. Sorry. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And now people are literally trying to cancel me and say that I'm transphobic. Baby, I'm not transphobic. Trust me, I rock. Like, in real life, I ride and rock for my trans girls. But, that bitch over there is not a trans woman. That is a man playing dress up, recording himself. Every time someone offends him, he gets more money.
When I saw these videos, I genuinely thanked the YouTube and the social media gods for creating someone so genuinely bad and unaware and embarrassing that I'm able to make a video about them without feeling bad. I've been canceled multiple times. Bro, who are you? You have to be known to be canceled, my friend. Being canceled multiple times, by the way, not a good thing. That's not something to brag about. You got canceled this time for saying a slur. How many slurs did you say in the past, huh? Yeah. Nobody is trying to cancel him for agreeing with Payton. People are mad at him, rightfully mad at him, for saying a slur that he obviously should not be saying. I don't know if this guy is just so unaware of the word he's saying and that it's a slur, because maybe he is, despite thousands of comments telling him, but I'm not transphobic for saying the T-slur, I have trans friends, is the same as I'm not racist for saying the N-word, I have black friends. I honestly kind of feel bad for the trans people he claims to be friends with, because he does seem like the kind of person to get dropped by someone as a friend and then absolutely hate that person after because they dropped him. And now all of a sudden he's misgendering that trans person he used to be friends with because he hates them. I have an op that I and many other people dropped after, like, months of me and those other people telling them that the things that they were doing were low-key, high-key problematic. That person now hates my guts, and even they don't misgender me. Not that hard, guys. And you might be saying, oh, why are you assuming things about Gus? Don't you know that assuming makes an ass out of you and I? That saying actually doesn't apply here, because I don't have to make an ass out of Gus. He does that just fine by himself. I guess it isn't really shocking that Gus said the T-slur and was not sorry about it, though, because after the incident, he did a few lives and talked to the audience and ended up saying 2 things that stuck out to me. The first one was in response to a commenter asking him what his pronouns were, and in response, he said, I don't really believe in pronouns. Of course, this could have been a joke. There are plenty of content creators out there who are outwardly supportive of the LGBTQ community or are part of the trans community specifically who will make jokes like that because they know their audience will know they aren't being serious. However, there is a time and a place for those kinds of jokes, and a few days after saying the T-slur and then doubling down on that is not the time to make jokes like that. The other thing that he said was in regards to the fucking slur that he said. He said, and I quote, "And please, y'all are literally making up a new slur every day. Just because, I don't know, you grew up sheltered enough to not hear these words said online or in newspapers does not mean the slur is new. The T-slur has existed since the 1980s. It might not have been a slur at the time, but it was highly debated in the 1990s to 2000s on whether or not it should be considered a slur. And the fact that that was debated at all tells me that yes, it should be. I understand hating Lily Tino and not wanting her to have a platform, but the way to do that is not by throwing slurs around or claiming that she is not actually transgender. The fact alone that people are focusing more on her being transgender rather than being a literal pedophile and alleged creep to women is so telling of what some people think about trans people. People say that Lily Tino is a horrible person and bad rep for the trans community, but don't attack Blair White in the same way. Not to say that Blair White hasn't ever been attacked, she definitely has, but she's never been, like, called a fake trans person or misgendered. And that's because the same people attacking Lily Tino by misgendering her agree with the statements that Blair White has made about trans women, that trans women are not women, but rather a category of men. And that is the opposite of allyship. You hate Lily Tino because she doesn't pass, and because she might be faking being trans, and because she's rage bait, and because she talked about cock and balls at a Disney park. I hate Lily Tino because she is the perfect example for conservatives to use, like, when they talk about why they don't like trans people. She is a pedophile. She's allegedly weird with women. She does not fit the beauty standards. She gives people that aren't really allies an excuse to misgender someone and apparently say a slur. And because she talked about cock and balls at a Disney park. And you know the worst thing? And you know the worst thing about mean gays like Payton and Gus that self-identify as Regina George gays? It's not even true. It's not even kind of true. One of the biggest reasons that Regina George was able to get away with the shit she did was because she was pretty. And these guys? I don't feel bad saying that because these guys are low-key, high-key bad people outside of the stuff I talked about in this video. And by the way, if you are a Regina George gay, or if you are at all like Regina George, then you don't need to announce it. People just know. It's like how alphas don't announce their alphas. People just know. Do you get me? Do you picking up what I'm putting down? Okay, that's all for today's video. I apologize if this video seemed rushed, because it was. I was working on a whole other video before this, and then everything just kind of happened, and it was the perfect opportunity. I would be stupid to not take it. Nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then smash that subscribe button, and also the like button. Alright, you are all great. My name is Third. Guten, bye. I forgot to record an outro, so I'm just gonna take this opportunity to add two things. The first thing is that I think Gus Weathers is stuck in 2020 because when you think about it, his behavior towards what's happening would make a lot more sense in 2020, you know what I mean? The way he's like, I've been canceled multiple times, and the way he's like, you guys are making new slurs every day, or whatever. That would make a lot more sense in 2020 because we were a lot more sensitive in 2020, admittedly. He's just stuck in the past, and I think that is the case with a lot of other conservative creators because the past makes it easier to make fun of people, if that makes sense. And then the second thing about Payton is that I feel like when he makes his videos, he doesn't do multiple takes. He does one take, and he doesn't really think about what he's saying, and he just talks and then posts. And the reason that I think that is because he said things in his videos about Lily Tino and following the Lily Tino incident that he later, like, said never mind on. Like, he said that DID wasn't a real thing, but what he meant, and he clarified this in a later video, what he meant was that DID is a real thing, it's just faked a lot. And I think one of Payton's biggest problems is that he just doesn't think about what he's posting, even though he has a very big platform, so he should know better, you know what I mean? And a lot of people are like, oh, he's just a kid, he's 17, man, give him the benefit of the doubt. You said it, he's 17. Yeah. He's not a little baby child. He's not excused of all actions. You know what I mean? Anyway. Subscribe.